So today I was just going to have a chat to Stephen about some of the council services that we provide to older residents. But first, I suppose maybe Stephen, you could give us a little bit of an idea of what life's been like for you in the last 6 or 7 months.
It's been something I never ever expected. I don't think any of us did, Katrina. We've heard about pandemics. I've studied them as part of my training, but I never really thought that we would be living one as profound and as ongoing as what we've had. Like everyone, I have largely spent that time confined at home, supporting my children who are all learning at secondary school level and at university from home, trying to support my parents who are both in their 70s who live in Kensington. But on top of that, the thing where maybe what I do differs from others is that I have had to continue my professional work as an emergency physician, and I work at a number of hospitals across Melbourne, principally in the west, but also in the centre of the city, and preparing for and in fact dealing with the pandemic, seeing up close and personal what COVID-19 can do to people, principally the frail and elderly. I've been with many who've been near the end of their life. I have intubated and sent to intensive care people who are fighting for their life. I have diagnosed it in people I never expected to, kids, young people with weird presentations, and I have been a part of decisions about how hospitals could prepare themselves with personal protective equipment, entire changes to systems, stopping elective surgery, changing the way we move in and out of emergency assessed patients, even how we run meetings, have our lunch in a tea room, deal with the stressors of being in a pandemic where your own health is on the line. And then, of course, just given my background in medical leadership, the demand for my thoughts about public health, about restrictions, about how to care for people, all of these things have been happening at a high rate in the media. So it's been a really busy time. Now that the second wave appears to be getting to a safe level, I'm feeling the fatigue, and I think a lot of people are across the community are struggling with the psychological impact of being in isolation for many months now.
Yeah, look, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? And I know, it's been an odd time to campaign and try and get out and meet the community, but, the issues that I've faced here sort of pale in comparison to what a lot of communities facing. I know everyone's had their challenges that they're facing, and I know that the community is so grateful for all of those frontline workers, healthcare workers, but also the, supermarket workers, our teachers, childcare workers, everyone that's out there and still going to work to keep those of us who are staying at home healthy and safe. And yeah, we're so grateful.
You make an important point, Katrina, that it's not just people like me, the emergency specialist in a hospital who's being, brave in what we do. I think kids having to learn from home without being able to run around the schoolyard with their colleagues. I think parents who've had to become teachers as well, people who have run businesses and worry on a day-to-day basis whether they can keep their staff on or whether their business has a future. Everyone is doing it hard at the moment, and the usual measures that we take for our health, like a holiday or socialising with loved ones, these things are not usually available to us. So I think you're absolutely right to say that everyone should have a pat on the back, be proud of what they've done thus far, and keep their eyes on the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. And fingers crossed that social interaction with our loved ones is not too far away because of the hard yards we've put in. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm so grateful for you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to have a chat with me about something I'm really passionate about as a candidate. That's the essential services for the community, and in particular in-home aged care services. You and I have had discussions about how many councils around Victoria have walked away from providing aged care services or have subcontracted those services out. And we've obviously seen recently some of the difficulties in aged care, which is critically underfunded by the Commonwealth. And I know councils have to subsidise those services that they provide in order to maintain that high level and high quality of care. But I just wanted to get your perspective, if I could, as a doctor, about how concerned we should be about councils turning away from providing aged care services.
Well, Katrina, I've been following all levels of government in terms of the way that they have a role in the provision of healthcare for many, many years now. It started when I was younger. One of my uncles was on council in the city of Sunshine where I grew up, and so I got to see it very closely. And it is that level of government that's closest to the people, even though it gets the lowest attention and interest and indeed resourcing of any of the three levels of government. But what it does is actually so important. I have said to people that the pandemic is teaching us many, many lessons, and eventually once we get to that point where we can feel safe again, then it is important to recognise what those lessons are. And the way that we provide care to the frail and elderly, which is a big proportion of our community, that's one of the areas where I think we have done quite shabbily as a nation. And we need to know where we can do better. In aged care, it's very easy to point the finger at Canberra and say it's all their responsibility, and indeed a lot of it does rest on their shoulders. But all levels of government and all individuals have a part to play in that. I think that the role of council is a huge one here. And it doesn't just start at aged care. I mean, I'm taking one of my daughters to have her Year 7 vaccinations next week at council. So, you know, these are things that we take for granted, but without that role, then health and quality of life suffer. The aged do deserve to have length and quality of life. And if council is not in there doing the things that would enable them to live at home through the support for aged care packages, through the provision of services that make life a bit easier. In some places, things like Meals on Wheels. In some places, the support of visitors who come and provide anything from social care through to things like showering, the provision of meals, shopping services. These are not things that are separate to most people. These are bread and butter issues. And there are some councils that don't do anything with this. And then there are others who take, I think, the Pontius Pilate approach, where they say, oh, we can outsource this to someone else. And I, for one, strongly believe that if there is a strong profit incentive in the provision of these services, then it will inevitably take away from the quality of care. Yeah. When I heard from you that you regarded this as one of your most important topics, then I said to you, you know this, and I'll say this to anyone, that I am very, very keen to see you get in there so that you can do that. When council officers come and say, well, the easier way of getting the budget under control is to move council out of the provision of aged and community care services. I'm sorry, but council is about much more than putting fireworks on the Maribyrnong River once a year. This is about making sure that the people who have lived in this community or come into this community who are getting beyond retirement age, where council can make the difference between them being in the community, living a wonderful life, not just enjoying it for themselves, but for the people around them, then council deserves that support, and what can I do as an individual? I can think about that when I vote.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, fundamentally health is an industry and an education as well that I think needs to be viewed more as an investment than as soon as you start looking at it as a profit spinner, you're not serving the community. And I think if we've got grandparents that are living at home and are able to care for children, volunteer, keep our community vibrant and connected, that's going to contribute to the health of our community as much as the community can assist and support our older residents to stay healthy. If council is able to provide that in-home support service, you see more of a wraparound, the ability for the in-home aged care workers to go in and link those older residents to other programs running through the council that are going to keep our older residents active and healthy and connected and able to stay, you know, make the choice to live at home for longer.
At that more basic level, there are people who would think that the provision of good health and education services are not compatible with sound economic management of any balance sheet, be it a local government entity or something far bigger than that. But without good health, without a sound education, then really no form of productivity in a business or economic sense is really possible.
And I suppose
Yes.
I also just wanted to get your perspective on what benefits to the health system overall there are for supporting older residents to be able to age in place rather than having to move into residential aged care.
Gee, where do I start? It's a huge issue. If people are able to be at home, I hate the term win-win, but there is no one who misses out there. The caveat is, of course, that people are able to be at home in a safe way. And we know that quality of life is to a great extent determined by being able to be in one's own community, in one's own home.
Council, you know, it's much more than just in-home aged care services. There are a lot of services and opportunities that the council creates for keeping our older residents active and connected. I think safe walking paths, accessible exercise, community
concessional pet registration.
Absolutely. And loneliness, as you say, is one of those factors that I think we also need to invest to combat, because I know that's, you know, one of the silent killers, really. It's another area that we could definitely tackle and do more for people who are living alone and, you know, at any stage in life. Definitely the community plays a big role, and fostering community is the bread and butter of local council, and definitely something that we want to, you know, I would like to get in and make sure that we are providing those opportunities for everyone.
These are the things that council can encourage, foster, and indeed in the current environment, protect and defend. These are the things that can make a world of difference, save tens of millions to the health budget, avoid the trauma of hospital admissions for fractured hips or bleeds on the brain from concussion, delirium, and delay and even avoid sometimes the need for residential care, then again, this is something where council would be worth its weight in gold.
Local government can be the conduit really between the community and those other tiers of government, because local government needs to be the level that knows the community best and is listening to and empowering the voices of the community. That's the job that we need to be doing, and that's the job that I want to do. Look, thanks so much, Stephen, for your time. It's been really wonderful to chat. And obviously there's a lot that we need to be doing in this council to make sure we're protecting the essential services that local council provide and that I think are really vital for the health and well-being of the community. And it's been really great to get your perspectives on that as well.
Thank you, Katrina. Thanks for highlighting these issues in your campaign, and I really hope that you're successful, because, of course, being elected to these positions is not an end in itself. It's about what can be done with that privilege of public service, and I look forward to being able to offer any support and assistance, and maybe even calling on your help if you're successful, and I hope you are. Good luck.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Stephen.